As the Prophet Muhammad said, "Give charity without delay, for it stands in the way of calamity." It's a reminder from our Prophet, giving not only changes lives, it also protects us from mishaps. When we give generously, we receive blessings in return. It's not about the size of your donation, it's about the consistency of your generosity. Even your small contribution can make a big difference in people's lives. Visit umrrelief.org today and join us on our journey to changing lives.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to our iTVusa program Balancing Deen and Dunya. Thank you to our viewers and Ramadan Mubarak. Thank you to UMR for sponsoring our program, and thank you to our guests who join us every day in Ramadan so we could learn more about their inspirational journeys as community leaders in the American Muslim community. Today on our show, we are happy to have with us Hussein Yatabarri, who was recently appointed as the Executive Director of the Muslim Community Network. He is someone who was born and raised in the Bronx. He is an alumnus of the City College of New York. He earned a bachelor's degree in biology and minored in psychology. And he's been very committed to schools, education, to identity, and to really fostering a sense of connection and community within the Muslim American community in New York and at large. Brother Hussein has been honored many, many times. And, rather than going through his impressive bio, I'll introduce him to everyone so we could talk to him together. Brother Hussein?
Thank you so much for that introduction, Dr. Suzy. I really appreciate it. I'm Hussein Yatabarri, and you pretty much summed it all up. I'm actually in the Bronx right now. I had to make a visit to my mom today. But thank you for having me. But yeah, that's pretty much my beginning. My parents come from Gambian roots in West Africa. Grew up in the Bronx, went through public education in the Bronx. I got my biology degree because I thought I wanted to be a doctor, or that was my parents' dream of me being a doctor. But I ended up becoming a science teacher and really kind of pivoting into nonprofits. And now I'm the executive director of Muslim Community Network. And I've been able to really commit to community service within the Muslim community and the larger immigrant community as well.
Okay. MashaAllah, that's amazing. And I'll be honest, when I was told that we have the MCN executive director guest on the show, I was excited because I know my oldest daughter's first internship ever was at MCN back in, I think, 2019 or so.
Oh, mashallah.
So I admire the work of the Muslim Community Network. I'm familiar with it, but some of our guests may not be. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do at the Muslim Community Network and what the organization's mission is?
Yeah, MCN's mission, Muslim Community Network, MCN for short, is to redefine and shape the Muslim narrative in the United States through community education, leadership development, and advocacy. And a lot of the work we do is really community centered, but also externally facing. So within our own community, we do a lot of educational and community engagement pieces, voter education to really power build within our community. We do immigrants' rights workshops to make sure people actually feel empowered and people know their rights. Hate crime prevention, because we know Islamophobia is at an all-time high, and it's continuing to raise when political figures have the kind of rhetoric they do in the media right now. So we try to make sure we focus in on our community and do as much education with our community and much empowerment, because we want our community members to be leaders. Like you said, your oldest child was in our leadership development program. We have one for Muslim women called MWSEP and one for Muslim youth called My NYC. And both of those programs is to get youth more civically engaged, help them really assess, understand city, state, and federal government environment and how they can conduct change from their own positions in life. And then the ultimate goal of all this is for all Muslims to be advocates for themselves and not just depend on outside community to help. At MCN, we do a lot of that engagement with the outside community, but communities have to feel like that's their only resource. We should be able to build and connect with each other. And when there's an issue within our community, we should be our first call to action before we call to other communities to come in and assist.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I love the youth component, the development of the youth, the investments in the youth that, MCN focuses on, as well as the focus on education. I remember my daughter would tell me about some of the training programs that they would do in different schools and different places. So I think that's a very much needed, area of growth and development. So you mentioned that you went from being a science teacher to being a nonprofit leader. How did that transition come about? What made you make that move?
Um, Literally during COVID, in 2020, I was still teaching remotely, and there were parents coming up to myself, and some others in the community, like, "Hey, we need programming for our students and our youth," and there isn't a lot of programs that have pivoted towards like a remote hybrid model. We don't know what to do, so I guess I was started the founding of a brand new nonprofit here in the Bronx called Neighborhood United, where we provided arts programming digitally, remotely. We provided STEM and computer training programs remotely, and we also did basketball at the neighborhood community center with the mask on, which was like very different. But it's an all girls basketball program, and I mean honestly, that really got my bug for nonprofits in that I was able to do a lot with a little, and I was able to kind of make things happen on the fly. And I just like really like the innovation that there was within the nonprofit space. I started a brand new program where in schools, you have like very finite and strict boundaries to start a brand new program or something. It takes, it may take months, or you have to wait for the next school year to like really roll it out. But it's like nonprofits, you actually get to like self start and try things. It's almost like a startup, and it was a really nice environment to work in. And yeah, I did 3 years as the executive director of Neighborhood United, and I made my transition to MCN honestly through some work that we were doing at Horizons Juvenile Detention Center with some Muslim youth that were reverts, but that were incarcerated. And that work kind of got me into like, how can I have more impact within my own community directly? Because I'm working with all communities in the Bronx, which is amazing. But I know the Muslim community has so much need, and I do have a valuable skill set to offer.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. That's an amazing journey. And I think, I like when you said we in nonprofits, you are able to do a lot with a little. I think
Yeah.
that's the motto of most nonprofits.
Yeah, it shouldn't be that way, but it gets you to be creative and innovative.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. So the theme of our program, Brother Hussein, is balancing Deen and Dunya. And how do you find that balance? I know, for example, today I'm sure you were juggling many things. We have a show scheduled at noon, and I know sometimes it's hard to be able to fit everything into a day. And I know, being the leader of a nonprofit, how much you're juggling in that space, in that sphere. So how do you do it? How do you find balance in Deen and Dunya in your day-to-day life?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like the biggest thing is just when you have those moments of dilemma is like having faith in Allah and like really kind of thinking like he has me, he will take care of me. I just need to stay the course, and I just need to continue to believe. I just need to continue to pray. But it's difficult. I mean, I'll tell you about my own upbringing. I grew up in the Bronx. I grew up in New York. I was born Muslim, but my faith was tested within public schools, within going through life, going through college. Obviously, you have the pitfalls of things like peer pressure. So that balance of Deen and Dunya is in constant flux, especially for a lot of young kids that kind of grow up like me with that duality of I have this cultural identity and ties to Africa and my faith, my Islamic faith, but then I have this American identity that in a lot of aspects is the complete flip and the complete opposite. So it's alhamdulillah, I think for me, like I was able to kind of have like good friends and good people around me, family around me. But, at the end of the day, we all suffer to dunya and we all kind of have some pitfalls, but it's never losing that faith in Allah. I think always keeping that first and foremost. And like, that's what I always tell like young Muslim kids. I'm like, everything you're thinking about doing or have gone through, I did it. I'm like, we're human. So like really being vulnerable in that sense and saying, like, I'm not judging you, but really kind of sit back and think, is this the best for me? Is this the best decision I'm making? Or I'm making this because some other people around me want to make these decisions? And then now as a nonprofit leader, it's just kind of, when I'm making decisions, is this decision good for my community? Because I have a different balance of Deen Dunya now, where you're at the intersection of faith and politics and nonprofit world. And you have some actors that want to co-opt and use the cultural diversity of Islam for their own benefit without actually contributing to our community. So realizing what relationships are like beneficial to the community and what's not, and realizing not all of them are good relationships. So tipping the scale towards my dean and saying, you know what, we can't collaborate with this person or this community because it's not good. And it will be a very dunya thing to say, oh, this collaboration is great because this organization is big or this person has variety. But what does that mean to our integrity? What does that mean to our iman, our faith? It, you know, it corrupts it. So it's a tough juggling act, but always making sure, like, in your prayers, step back, and, like, and you're okay. You make one small decision in a day that affects of one person for the good. That's all you need. You don't need to. That's all.
Yeah, that's honestly a great gems of wisdom, I think, that we can all take away with us, you know, in terms of the impact that we can have in others, setting our intentions straight and ensuring that everything that we do, we tie it back to our purpose of being on this earth, which is to worship and please Allah. So thank you, Brother Hussein, for joining us on our show today. Thank you for our viewers for being with us today on Balancing Deen and Dunya. We got to hear a little bit about MCN, the Muslim Community Network, and Brother Hussein, who leads MCN. To learn more, you can definitely visit the Muslim Community Network's website. Great organization. They're doing a lot of excellent work in New York and really impacting our youth and others. Please be sure to join us again in tomorrow's episode of Balancing Deen and Dunya, produced by iTVusa and sponsored by UMR. Thank you and assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much, Dr. Suzy. Take care.